On May 20th, Trump announced the Golden Dome project, a plan to build the nuclear missile defense shield made of hundreds of weaponized satellites. Lockheed Martin praised the initiative on its official website, calling it a way to further the goals of peace through strength and ensuring the security and resilience of our nation. However, Chinese strategist and former Air Force Colonel Professor Wang Xiangsui argues that the Golden Dome is economically and technically unrealistic and will actually give China a strategic advantage. In the economic front, Trump claims the system would cost just $175 billion and make the US immune to nuclear attacks from China and Russia. However, a report from US Congressional Budget Office released on May 5th estimates that even a space-based system designed to defend against just 1 or 2 missiles from North Korea could cost as much as $542 billion. China and Russia, by contrast, possess over 700 ballistic missiles and have a combined landmass about 200 times larger than North Korea. Therefore, the number of required satellites, sensors, and interceptors would have to be scaled up hundreds of times, resulting in astronomical budget overruns that could devastate the US economy even more thoroughly than a nuclear strike. Jeffrey Lewis, an affiliate with Stanford University's Center for International Security and Cooperation, noted that to detect launches early and maximize response time, satellites would need to operate in low Earth orbit, where they are subject to atmospheric drag and require constant replacement. Take Starlink, currently the largest low-orbit satellite network. SpaceX has to replace about 20 to 30% of the satellites each year. Even if Trump managed to build the Golden Dome for just $175 billion, annual maintenance alone could cost at least $35 billion, the price of 2.5 Ford-class aircraft carriers. On the technical side, a report by the American Physical Society concluded that it would take more than 1,000 orbital weapons to intercept a single intercontinental ballistic missile during its boost phase in space. Defending against a dozen or more simultaneous launches will require hundreds of interceptors operating at once. Building such a system would be an enormous technical challenge, and it would be extremely vulnerable to anti-satellite weapons. A missile defense expert at Center for Strategic and International Studies told the BBC that the kind of command and control system needed for the Golden Dome does not currently exist. There's also the issue of interceptors themselves. The missiles currently used in US defense systems, Patriot, THAAD, and Standard missiles, travel at speed of Mach 5, Mach 8.2, and Mach 3.5, respectively. Meanwhile, China and Russia have developed hypersonic weapons capable of reaching speeds up to Mach 10. Traditional ballistic missiles can also hit hypersonic speeds during their descent, but they follow relatively predictable paths, allowing interceptors to target them at fixed points. In contrast, China and Russia's latest hypersonic weapons can maneuver at Mach 10, making them nearly impossible to intercept with slower missiles. That's why in Ukraine, Russia's Kinzhal missiles have repeatedly breached defenses and even destroyed the Patriot system. China's DF-17 is even more advanced. It uses a wave rider design and allows it to glide along the edge of the atmosphere with extreme agility. This unpredictable flight path, sometimes called the Chen trajectory, makes interception even harder. In conclusion, the Golden Dome is almost impossible to achieve with current technology, but it will still drain enormous financial resources. That kind of resource misallocation could give China a relative competitive edge. Over the past 70 years, the US has already spent about $400 billion on ballistic missile defense systems, most of which have only achieved limited coverage and questionable effectiveness. Professor Wang points out that the real reason so many US administrations have gotten trapped in the doomed project is because of a fundamental strategic flaw. They believe that unilateral technology can solve multilateral security problems. The reason nuclear war isn't broken out is that major powers still maintains a balance of mutually assured destruction and have historically reached binding arms control agreements through serious diplomacy. Trump, however, is trying to pry open a Pandora's box that no other leader has dared to touch. Having such a president is a tragedy for the US citizens, but the fact that US lacks the actual capability to follow through may be a blessing for the rest of the world.
偷偷告诉大家，我最近发现了新法宝 Royal Face 逆时奇迹系列，它有活肤露、全效精华，还有精华霜。尤其我皮肤比较偏干，所以我非常的注重保湿。保湿做得好，肌肤自然烹润。 提亮肤色更年轻，抚平皱纹超有感，而且气色变好，用心保养，每天都更美一点。美吧。